Hi, everybody. It's Don. I was really excited to see your reflections and questions on self care this week in the Principles of College Teaching. And I'm going to share my thoughts as I do each week on what I think is going on. So, first of all, a couple of you had questions about what happens when we go back to normal. And I think this is a really interesting question because I don't know what normal is. I don't know what normal is going to be. So, for instance, this may be the new normal. There may be some aspects to the new normal. So, I think that one of the things that we're finding is that, at least for the transmission of disease, us being further apart from each other is a good thing. So, I would imagine that there's going to be probably more work from home opportunities, more remote teaching opportunities in the future, even when face to face is more healthy for all of us. So I don't know what normal looks like anymore. And a lot of people have talked about a pivot. That we're making in education so that we're embracing more hybrid technologies, more online and remote aspects to even face-to-face classes. So this is an interesting question. I don't know what normal is. Um, a lot of you were really impressed, I think, by the importance of self care and what can happen when we don't engage in self care and what that can do to our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, those kinds of things. And a number of you kind of asked about the importance of a schedule and a routine. And I absolutely agree with that. I think that self care has to be something that you do every day. It has to be something that is a priority for you. Your physical care, your emotional care, your social care, all of those kind of things are things that you have to do for yourself. And one of you asked, can I enforce my students to do this? Can I make my students do this? And I think you absolutely can. I think you can have your students engage as part of some weekly activities and things like that, things that are related to self care. A lot of people use journaling in their classes, even prior to things like worldwide pandemics, to kind of help their students at least reflect on their emotional well-being that week, their social well-being that week, their physical well-being that week. I think as your class allows, these are things that you can absolutely embed. And most of our classes, I think we can find a way to embed things about our students taking care of themselves. Now, one of you did mention, and I absolutely agree with this, you have to be authentic about this. So if you're going to have your students engage in self-care, number one, you should do the same thing. You should have a routine that works for you. This probably is going to include some kind of exercise, a sleep schedule, healthy eating schedule. These are things that many of you mentioned in your responses. And you're going to model these for your students. I think one of the things that I would recommend is that you share with your students your routine for self-care. So let them know what it is you do for yourself. Let them know about that consistency in the routine. Let them know there's something that you value. And let them know why it's important. And what this can do is can normalize this for them. If our students think that when they experience trouble or they're stressed out and they're the only ones who do it, this can create some issues for them. They can make them feel like they're exceptional in a bad way. But if we, as the people in the front of the classroom, or at least on the other side of the Zoom screen who was hosting the meeting, if we're letting them know that these are things that are concerns to us, and this is how we resolve that, I think that's going to be really helpful for them in normalizing their experience. A couple of you asked about the longevity and consistency of self-care. So do we kind of ebb and flow through this? Is this something we should do for forever? And I think we should. One of the things that I try to do in my classes, I have what's called homework for life. So these are things beyond the class. And I think teaching your students that self-care is something that should not only happen now, but should help them forever is going to be important. So I'm going to say right now that the self-care routines that you set up right now to get through a global pandemic and that keep us as healthier, and it might not be at our optimal state, but keep us functioning. These are things we may want to think about continuing. So if getting outside, as one of you mentioned, is really important right now, if working out is really important for you right now, getting at least 7 or 8 hours of sleep is really important for you. These might be priorities to take with you into that new normal when the pandemic ends. So I'm going to tell you that these are things you should keep with you. And if they work for you, definitely let them keep working for you. And a couple of you asked about programs and resources available for help. And these maybe aren't as wonderful as they could be. I know that at K-State, for instance, our counseling center, which is doing telecare right now and video care, is open to faculty, students, and staff. And they are either free or very low cost, depending on how many you've used already. So these are things that I absolutely would ask you to reach out for if it's something that you need. I don't know the availability in the public sector, the private sector, those kind of things, as a couple of you had asked. But I think these are questions that we have to start answering before people ask. Like I said, I do know at K-State, this is something we take seriously. We do have a counseling center that is set up to help us in this regard, but I don't know about your next institution and your next job. But those are great questions. And one of you asked, and I love this question, What if we shorten the work week? And you mentioned that, in Japan, for instance, maybe a 4-day work week was shown to have some increases not only in mental health well-being, but also in productivity. I would absolutely agree that shortening the work week could be a wonderful thing. One of the things that I find is that when I have less time to do my work, I do more work. I'm much more efficient. I stay much more on task. I'm less fatigued in doing it. I'm more energized. The cliche that I use oftentimes is that I'm working like my hair is on fire to kind of give that sense of urgency. So I do think that as long as we were not coupling the shortened work week with higher demands on productivity, which could increase stress and make that hair on fire experience not be invigorating, but really really distressing. That could be a problem. But I do think that things like that and thinking about things like that are things that we should be doing, because if we all burn out, it's not good for anyone. It's not good for us. It's not good for our students. It's not good for learning. And I do think, as I've said many times, that the emotional, subjective experience of the instructor in front of the classroom is important. So I do think that we should take care of ourselves first. If we do not take care of ourselves first, then we cannot engage in the material. And then I think through trickle down engagement, our students won't engage in the material and they won't learn nearly as well. So the advice that I'm giving you this week, and it seems like all of you took it very well, is please take care of yourself first. Um, so that's what I got this week in reaction to your reflections. And I can't wait to see you in our Zoom meeting on Thursday morning as we finish out the semester. So if you need anything between now and then, please reach out. Otherwise, I'll see you soon. I hope all is well.